See, most folks' idea of being a business owner is the likes of a side hustle, something enabling you to make a little more income your job doesn't cover. The reality is it's virtually impossible to live in the United States off one wage, and nowadays, barely two. We have our good old government and Fortune 500 corporations to thank for that when they began outsourcing innumerable jobs to other countries a few decades ago, enabling them to be sustainable as well as create profitable situations they never had before. All because these companies wanted to save on labor costs by hiring cheaper labor. Because of that, some nearly 3 decades later, there are no jobs available for college graduates, and those with tenure in their field are finding themselves hitting the ceiling of opportunity not even 10 years into their profession, while others fall victim to job cuts. Gone are the days of job security our grandparents had, and gone is the certainty your job was yours to lose, knowing you could stay with the company for 25 plus years and retire with a pension. We must face the fact that if we are to survive in the here and now moving forward, we must embrace the notion of becoming business creators. The Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, or GEM, recently found that 27 million working-age Americans, nearly 14%, are starting or running new businesses. Why? Because all the jobs are outsourced or obsolete due to the recent tech boom. Take, for instance, the instant checkout kiosks now seen in places like Walmart and Home Depot. Dubbed fast checkout, folks think, hey, I can check out my own stuff, pay for it, and be out without having to wait in long lines. Ever the one to see a scenario like this one-sided, we don't sit back and think these corporations have actually figured out a way to have you, the consumer, do the work they would normally have to hire someone to do. Think about it. Who usually rings up and bags your supplies? An employee. The money he would need to spend to pay an employee benefits, bonuses, vacation, and put into his or her 401k, he can now save while at the same time passing the task of labor from him to you, the consumer. But we cannot sit here and point fingers at corporations all day. The real issue is addressing the 3 fingers pointing back at ourselves. See, we must break the mindset of thinking we can only earn a living by working for someone else. Yes, working for a company provides experience, a little bit of stability, and that's all good when you're fresh out the market, out of college or high school, up to your 30s and early 40s. The real issue is the systemic trap is experienced by the majority of people ending the same way with this one overlooked basic fact. No employer is obligated to pay you for the rest of your life. Eventually, you will be laid off, a victim of downsizing, or fired. If lucky, you'll make it to retirement. This will not stop the fact that your bills are due every 30 days. How will you sustain yourself then? Understand this. Every job has an expiration date that you're not aware of and can end at any time, without notice. Doing the math, if you have a job that barely allows you to maintain, that means you're living paycheck to paycheck. Couple that with an ineffective financial plan on how to manage what you make. In most cases, when the day comes you are laid off or fired, your finances are not in a position to live off your savings for more than 3 months, for many not even 1. So many are forced to immediately go in search of another job, and the cycle continues. If youth is on your side, you may think getting another job is easy, and it may, but in your field of choice? The Washington Post reported, quote, in 2013, only 62% of U.S. college graduates had a job that required a college degree. Second, an estimated 27% of college grads had a job that was closely related to their major, end quote. Wait, what? 6 out of 10 jobs require no degree, and 1 out of 4 college grads are working in their degree profession. So why go to college? The reality is there's an increasing amount of college grads who need to find work immediately to pay off their student loans, can't even find work in the field they spent tens of thousands of dollars to get a degree in. This is why we find so many working in unrelated fields and oftentimes in lower wage jobs. Welcome to Funburger. Would you like to place your order? Here's the other challenging side of working for someone and not yourself. Even if you are working in your field or have a job outside of minimum wage, as you age, get wiser, and gain seniority in your field, when you are eventually let go, laid off, fired, or retire, you can be priced out of a new job having to settle for less because your experience overqualifies you. Once you have reached your 40s, you are overqualified. Employers will take that into consideration, knowing that they can hire someone younger and, most important, cheaper. All this came to a head as I reflected on my new situation days after being fired from being 12 years a slave at the National Basketball Association. The next phase of my life started with these three simple questions. 1. What would you do if you showed up to work Monday and found out you were being let go? What would be the first thing you think about? 2A. Do you live paycheck to paycheck? And if so, what is your plan to earn more? 2B. If not, do you have more than 6 months savings? And 3. Have you ever said, I really can't complain, at least I have a job? If so, you need to refer back to question number 1. Question number 1 was me March 13, 2017. And the first thing I thought about was how I was going to pay my bills. My savings was barely a few weeks' worth, and my credit was non-existent. I was the average worker bee who hadn't taken the time, for whatever reason, to figure out how to get out of the rat race. Fortunately, due to my ignorance of the cyclical nature of recessions bringing losses to nest egg savings, I have been maxing contribution to my 401k, so I had money there, although I had no intent in touching and honestly didn't even know that I could. First thing I did was arrange a meeting with my broker at Fidelity. The key thing he said to me as I applied to withdraw from my 401k, the question came of having to list my occupation on my application. I said to him, I'm unemployed. I have no occupation. I said this somewhat annoyed as I had already told him this, while at the same time feeling somewhat deflated, thinking I'm about to get this, be denied access to my own funds in my 401k, forgetting the reality that these funds are mine, not Fidelity's. He gave me an assuring laugh as he responded, Right, let's do this then. Let's just put down that you live off your savings and investments. Right when he said that, this huge, bright, solar-powered, energy-efficient LED light bulb went off in my head. I said to myself, what the fuck? You can put that down as an occupation? This must be how white boys live. This dude just messed up telling me this. Messed up indeed. It was at that point, instead of looking in the one ads for another plantation or job to take me, I vowed instead to do whatever possible never to return to corporate America or to work for anyone again. That statement alone was liberating and is the core of what you will be reading in this book. You can, anyone can, live off your savings and investments. If we only knew that, we could, and how.